Have you ever read a story that felt like it was written about your own deepest, darkest fears? Well, today, we're going to connect a century-old literary nightmare to a modern punk rock anthem. You're about to see how one of the weirdest stories ever written might just be more about our world today than you could ever imagine.
Just think about that for a second. Imagine your alarm goes off. It's a normal Tuesday, but something is just wrong. Deeply wrong. You're not you anymore, and whatever you've become, there's no going back.
Yeah, that's the twist. That's the horror at the heart of this whole thing. You haven't just changed a little bit. You've become something inhuman, something people are going to fear and hate and eventually just want to get rid of.
Now, this isn't just some random scary thought. This is the actual story of a guy named Gregor Samsa, whose entire life completely falls apart in the most bizarre and awful way you can think of. So this all comes from Franz Kafka's mind-bending 1915 novella, The Metamorphosis. This story is a huge deal in literature. It's a cornerstone for big ideas like expressionism and existentialism. Basically, it's famous for perfectly capturing what it feels like to be anxious, alone, and living in a world that just doesn't make any sense.
The story itself is brutally simple. Gregor is a traveling salesman, he's the one paying all the bills for his family, and then boom, he wakes up as a giant bug. His family, who completely depended on him, is now just disgusted by him. They lock him in his room, his own father attacks him, and eventually he just dies of neglect and starvation, all alone. And his family's reaction? Pretty much just relief. They can finally get on with their lives. It is bleak.
Okay, so let's jump forward 100 years or so. How on earth does a story that strange and that dark still hit home today? Well, one band had an idea. Let's turn it into a song.
And that's exactly what the band The Monkey Dance did. They took all of Kafka's existential dread and pumped it full of raw, modern, aggressive energy. They basically boiled down all that psychological horror into a few minutes of pure punk rock.
But here's the kicker. They don't just retell the story. They point the finger right at you. The title of the song is literally an accusation. Gregor Samsa Is You. Suddenly, it's not about some poor guy in a book from 1915. No, it's about us, right here, right now. So how in the world did they pull that off? How do you turn literary horror into a personal anthem? Well, let's break down the lyrics and see exactly how they map onto the key moments from Kafka's story. The song just explodes right out of the gate with that same sense of panic and total disbelief that Gregor feels. It's so direct, so immediate. There's no fancy poetry, it's just that raw gut feeling of, wait, no, this can't be happening to me. And this line, this one hones in on maybe the most heartbreaking moment in the whole story, being rejected by your own family. It captures that instant when Gregor's dad flips from being his protector to his attacker, which is the moment that really seals the deal. Gregor isn't family anymore. He's just a pest.
Okay, so check this out, because the change they make here is brilliant. In Kafka's book, the dad throws an apple, and it actually gets stuck in Gregor's back. It's super symbolic, maybe a nod to the Garden of Eden, the fall of man, all that stuff. But the song, it swaps the apple for a shoe, a plain old shoe. And that makes the violence feel less symbolic and way more real. It's brutal, it's domestic, it's the kind of ugly, everyday anger we can all recognize.
And here it is, the final gut punch. The lyrics perfectly capture Gregor's quiet, lonely death and the family's cold shoulder. But that last line, Gregor Samsa was you, it just forces you to put yourself in his shoes. It turns the whole story from something you read into a direct warning.
So obviously this isn't really about a guy turning into an insect. That's just a surface. So what's really going on here? What does the bug actually represent? Let's dig into the metaphors. Right off the bat, the big one is alienation. Gregor literally becomes an outsider in his own house. He can't talk to anyone, he can't be part of the family, he is completely and totally alone, even when they're all in the next room. It's a physical representation of an emotional reality. And this leads right into another huge theme, utilitarianism. Basically, it's the cold idea that a person's worth is based on how useful they are. As long as Gregor was working and bringing home a paycheck, he had value. He was part of the family. The second he couldn't do that anymore, his value just disappeared. He wasn't a son or a brother, he was a problem to be solved. So when you put it all together, you can see that both the book and the song are wrestling with these massive, timeless ideas. What is our identity without our job? How strong are family bonds, really?
They dive deep into social rejection, depression, isolation, and they even ask if sometimes death can feel like the only way out.
At the end of the day, the bug is just a vehicle. It's a shocking, unforgettable image that's designed to make us face a really uncomfortable truth about ourselves. Because it's really about what happens when someone gets sick, or loses their job, or becomes disabled, or is just different. It's a story about how terrifyingly fast love and acceptance can curdle into disgust and rejection the moment someone stops being useful or normal.
Which brings us right back to that haunting line from the song. It's a challenge, isn't it? It forces you to wonder which part you play in this story. Are you Gregor, or are you the family, ready to throw someone out the second they become an inconvenience? So I'll just leave you with this final thought. In a world that so often values what we do over who we are, what parts of yourself, your fears, your struggles, your weird quirks, do you keep hidden away, terrified that if people saw the real you, they wouldn't see you at all, they'd just see a bug?